Megan.
Hello, Nicole.
Are you ready for another exciting episode of the podcast?
Oh, Lordy. Sure. Why not? Why not?
Well, welcome, friends, to Romance on the Rocks podcast, where two bookish biddies imbibe and talk about their latest romance reads.
That intro totally threw me. That is so not at all what we normally do.
I'm switching it up.
I'm waiting for the I'm Nicole Danielle.
Yeah.
And it never happened.
I threw you for a loop, keeping you on your toes.
Oh, Lord. Today's not a day to be on my toes. I am sweating so bad. And being on my toes sounds like more exercise.
Yeah.
I just can't. What are you drinking to cool you down today?
Oh, to cool me down, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I went for, I'm trying to stay on theme because it's Christmas in July this month. And this is a Snowball Old Fashioned.
Ooh, what's in that?
So we have some bourbon, a little titch of maple syrup. I got some dried cherries and a dried fruit slice in there. And then a little Angostura bitters and a bunch of ice representing the snowballs, because I don't have any snowballs right now. How are you hydrating?
Well, I'm gonna go back to yours for a second because it sounds very traditional because I didn't hear the Wisconsin soda wash in there.
I know. It was everything I could do not to put it in.
Oh,
and I felt like there was no fruit muddling. There's no club soda.
Yeah, that's a little much for me, but I digress.
Yeah.
So for anybody who was with us for our first Christmas in July, you know that I am in the midst of a health and wellness challenge right now. So I am sans alcohol for a few more episodes, which is really unfortunate because my book had one scene where they were drinking some heavy duty local beers, and I would have loved to have a nice cold local beer today. My daughter works at a local brewery up here, and if I had just been able to grab something from that would have been so good. But instead, I'm having iced coffee. I was trying to think of something that would actually be kind of wintry. So this iced coffee has a little tiny bit of honey because I am avoiding the sugars right now, and some heavy whipping cream.
I almost went with iced coffee, but I did coffee last time, and then I was like, how about a frozen hot chocolate? And I'm like, God, that sounds like a pain in the ass. But Megan, I do have to tell you, I did also bring a cold beer as a backup. Oh,
and it's a Shiner box.
Yes.
That is one of my absolute favorites. That is such a staple. Jealous.
The breakfast
very,
beer,
very jealous.
as we call it. The breakfast
beer. Yep. So tasty. All right. Well, now that we've gotten past that, I'm on day 26 into this challenge.
Yeah,
so
I'm so proud of you. And you did just write awesome blog post about your alternate liquid hydration choices, as you are not imbibing right now.
No. Depending on the day, it's been a challenge. Today is one of those days. Like I said, it's a great day for a cold beer. So there have been a lot of days of kombucha and fruit water, but today it's iced coffee.
My Aunt Ethel used to swear by a good old Samuel Adams beer and a little piece of Werther's chocolate, not the caramel one, but the chocolate one, as the perfect after you've been hot in the garden little summer treat.
Sure.
It was an interesting combo, but it worked.
Yeah, no, I can actually see that. I mean, a lot of beers do pair well with chocolate, so yeah, go for it, girl. So we're doing more Christmas.
Yeah. Tell me about your book, Megan. What did you read?
Excellent question. I read a book called Merry Chris Moose. Chris is Chris. It is a man's name, Merry Chris Moose. And just quick backstory, I can't remember if I talked about this on the last podcast or not when I went to read the synopsis of this book, but a coworker and I were having a discussion about ridiculous romance themes and kind of outlandish ideas. And I said, I like to pick the most outlandish things possible if I get the chance. And she knew that we were doing Christmas in July, and she shouted, "Do a moose romance." And I was like, challenge accepted, girl. So I went out and I found a moose romance. Hence how this book ended up in my hands. Marry Chris Moose is by Delta James. It was written in 2024, so it is very contemporary. Delta James has written a number of romance novels set in a small town called Otter Cove, and it is in Alaska. The series is about shifters. So humans that can shift into animal form. So not necessarily werewolves, but many other types of animals. Otter Cove is shifter territory. It's not a surprise to us. We know it pretty much right away that that's what we're dealing with. Where to begin?
Yes, where do you begin with a shifter moose romance, Megan?
Yeah. Our main character is Keely Blake. She is from Otter Cove. She is a fox shifter, an Arctic fox. She is also a toy designer. She's kind of elite in the toy design world, and she works for a family-owned toy company in Alaska in Otter Cove. Very early on in the book, within the first 3 pages, she meets up with a man named Chris Sutton, and he is the head of a larger toy company that is kind of shrouded in mystery. Everybody knows that the toys that come from this company are really, really good and really well made, but nobody knows much about the company itself. So she gets set up with this meeting where he's coming to her company to meet her about some toy designs. I'm not even sure how to really go at this book. So I'm going to give you the synopsis as I see it, and then we're going to dissect.
Okay, give me your hot take on the moose.
Yeah. So very early on in this book, within the first 15 pages, they are in bed. It is abrupt and right there and in your face. And then we go into the magic of Christmas. Basically, they have this possible one-night stand. He leaves. She's upset about him leaving. She keeps saying without a word. Like, he left without a word. Girl, he wrote you a note. He didn't just skedaddle. He left a note and said, I'm really sorry. I've got something I've got to run off to. I'll be in touch. And you sat around and moped for a couple days, being like, how dare he leave without a word? You know how to get a hold of him, and he left you a note. So I was already annoyed.
Okay.
So then he calls her because he has decided that she and her toy designs are what is going to save Christmas. He needs her at his company, and he calls, and she's all huffy and mad about it because he left without a word, and he apologizes profusely and says, I need you to come here to the North Pole. And of course she's like, the North Pole? You must be kidding. Oh, nay, he says, I am not kidding. And he sends a plane and takes her to the North Pole.
Does he actually say nay?
No, that's me. So they get to the North Pole, and she finds out that somebody is trying to steal the magic of Christmas. They are trying to steal belief and belief in Christmas. And that is the only way that Santa's whole operation functions. It functions on belief, which to me felt very much like trying to clap for Tinkerbell not to die. Do you remember that?
Yes,
do you remember that scene in Peter Pan?
Yes, I do.
That is the premise of Christmas, is that if we don't clap hard enough for Tinkerbell, Christmas is going to die, basically. So belief is dying, and they're like, it's not just that belief is slowly dying. We can tell somebody's stealing it because it's dissipating so quickly. So we need to figure out how belief is being stolen. And we also know the only way to create more belief is from Keely making better toys. So Keely's going to make amazing toys that is going to spike belief and make Christmas continue. Because without it, the magic all dies. Cue her sitting around making toys, becoming friends with elves, and then in the midst of all this, more abrupt sex. It was difficult for me to deal with the quick changes between the magic of Christmas and sentences such as
What you got? What you got?
I want to feel your pussy milk my cock.
I wasn't feeling festive and holiday-like to you?
I mean, it could be festive. It just was a really quick shift between the two. You know, like on page 38, we might be saying, but how do we save the magic of Christmas? I know, I'll make a dinosaur toy that can roar real loud and he's got special lasers. And the next page would be fistfuls of hair and his member shoved to the back of her throat.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It was like whiplash. So I found that a little difficult. They are, again, a thing that I hate. Fated mates.
Oh,
Hate
God,
it.
yeah.
I hate it. And that is a me problem. That is not a this author problem. That is not a genre problem. That is a me problem.
Yeah.
So just out there in the world for people who like those kinds of stories, it's not my jam.
Right.
There's something about that phrasing that makes me very uncomfortable or just feels icky. So if that's your jam, that's great. Maybe this book would be for you. I don't know. The Otter Cove series in general seems like it's going to be a lot of fated mate type things. It wasn't like overly in your face, but it was there. They are these fated mates. She's helping save Christmas. We've come to find out who the villain is who's been trying to steal the belief. And there's kind of like a little warring factions type of thing. If you're wondering where the moose comes from, it's because Chris is a moose shifter. She's a fox and he's a moose. And in the end, they save Christmas, the end.
Okay.
Now,
spoilers, Megan.
I didn't tell you how they got there. And okay, here's my continued breakdown. I think that Miss James has really interesting ideas and is very creative. I think her imagination is very wide. And I could see this book in the right hands being a really cool movie, or even the Otter Cove stuff. Possibly, I haven't read the other books, but I could see it being some sort of mini series or CW show.
Sure.
Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot going on here that feels interesting. However, I could not get behind her style of writing at all. And that's actually what took me so long to do my breakdown tonight. Nicole and I were talking about it. We got onto the podcast about a half an hour later than we normally would. You, because you were doing important things in the garden. Me, because I was making a chart.
A chart?
That is most of what I did for my breakdown of this book. I concentrated on this chart. I could not let it go because all the highlighting in my book, not all, almost all the highlighting in my book was me highlighting repetitive phrases and sentences. Anybody who has listened to this podcast before knows that that is one of my biggest pet peeves. Please, there are so many words out in the world. Let's use more
It's
of them.
called a thesaurus. It has a use.
You know, a thesaurus is like one of the best tools out there, but this seemed even more beyond that.
Okay.
Like I've had complaints in previous books where I say, oh, he kept saying her china blue eyes, her china blue eyes,
yeah.
blue eyes. And he said it like 3 or 4 times. Okay, well, maybe that's his thing. But that was like the one phrase repeated, right?
Yeah.
In this book, 12 times, she has some sort of phrase of his gaze intense. Intensity in his eyes, intensity of his gaze, the intensity of his voice. Okay, 12 different versions of that. There's 15 mentions of betraying the tension, the growing tension in the room. The tension was almost unbearable. Something to break the tension. It hummed with the tension between them. The air was heavy with tension. 12 times. The air between them was thick with a magnetic pull. The air between them was charged with energy. The air between them buzzing with unbearable tension. The air between them thick with something deeper. The air between them crackled with unspoken desire. The air between them grew heavy with desire. The air between them buzzing. Okay.
That is insane. Like, seriously.
34 instances of her heart raced, her heart raced, her heart raced, her heart was pounding, her heart skipped a beat, her heart stuttered, her heart pounding, her heart surged, her heart raced, her heart leapt, her heart thudded, her heart dropped, her heart pounding, her heart leapt, her heart hammering. 34. 34. And I think that was a big problem for me with this book. And that may not be a problem for other people. But to have that many repetitions in a book that is only 132 pages long.
If you're talking about a book that is that short and not 300 to 400 pages, and you are noticing that much repetition where you felt compelled to create a chart, and then I'm listening to you go through the repetition, I'm like, good gravy, that's way too much of the same thing happening over and over again, essentially, in a short amount of pages.
Yeah, that was where I had trouble. And because I was having trouble with that, it was really hard for me to then enjoy the story.
Yeah.
Which, again, probably more of a me problem than anything else. But like I said, I really do think that her idea here has something behind it and could be a cool movie. I could see this being a really fun Christmas movie if it was done correctly. So a lot of cool idea potential here.
I can totally see it as a CW show.
Right? Absolutely. I could absolutely see this being a CW type of show. There's something good there. What else did I want to bring up? Oh, here's something. For people who do get into more of like the fated mate and like shifter stories, maybe somebody can tell me if this is a Delta James thing or if this is a more common theme in that world, because I don't know. I haven't read enough of these. But there was a point where Chris was talking about being fated mates, and he said he hadn't believed it could happen, not to him. Fated mates happened to be predators. Lions, tigers, wolves, and the like. But it didn't happen to non-predatory species like him. Huh. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Is that a thing? If anybody knows, tell me if that's a thing, because I wouldn't have known. So he is saying that the fated mate thing is like a predatory species, but maybe nothing else. So we wouldn't, I don't know, see squirrels? I don't know. Someone help me out with that. So I may have learned something new by reading this, which is
squirrel
cool.
Soulmates, I'm telling you.
Fated squirrel soulmates. I don't know. There was no nose bridge pinching, but 3 times they did rest with their foreheads touching each other. Mm-hmm. And then one of the sentences I actually really did appreciate and I really liked, mixed in with the things that I didn't care for. This was a really nice statement. So this is Keely, and she's talking about facing the incoming battle. I'm not afraid of the danger, she whispered. I'm afraid of not doing enough. I want to help. I need to help. I thought that was nice. I'm afraid of not doing enough. I can totally relate to that. I would say overall, it's hard to put a spiciness level on this because the abruptness made it so that I didn't feel like the scenes were sexy, even though they were explicitly written.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
It does, yeah.
So I would say because they were fairly explicit with some of the language, maybe I'd give it a habanero, but the scenes weren't excessively long. There were maybe 3 of the scenes in this book. So yeah, I'll give it a tentative habanero.
Okay.
And so my review would be, I like her ideas. Sure. And I would love to see her ideas be fleshed out with some more assistance, because I do think she's got something unique to offer.
Yeah.
That is my review.
Okay.
Of Merry Christmas.
All right.
End scene. How about you, Nicole? What did you read this time around?
Oh, Megan, brace yourself.
Oh, no.
I've got spoilers ahead for this one, and a trigger warning of sibling incest.
Oh! No.
Here we go, Megan.
No. Nicole, no.
Okay.
Where did you get this book?
So this book is one that Bob found at work on the take it and pass it along shelf of Smut.
Ew. Bob, you should be ashamed of yourself.
And so it was in a bigger book by Maisie Yates called A Tall, Dark Cowboy Christmas, which was quite girthy, but I ain't got that kind of time this summer. So I read the tiny bonus book in the back called Snowed In with the Cowboy. Maisie Yates does write quite a lot of cowboy smut, if you will. She's got a whole 2 series, one in Gold Valley, Oregon, and one in Copper Ridge, Oregon. I frankly didn't know there were cowboys in Oregon, and I've been there twice. Never had a concept that there were cowboys in Oregon. But fun fact, there are, especially in the eastern part of the state. Apparently, it's known as cowboy country. I did not know this. I learned something new. But let's talk about my hot take on this book. Welcome to Gold Valley, Oregon, where a stepbrother and stepsister hook up over the holidays.
Ugh. This sounds like it should be behind an 18 and older, like, click this now.
I gave the trigger warning. Our main characters are Chloe Nolan, a 25-year-old young woman who works with horses on her stepfamily's ranch, and Tanner Reed, her, quote, much older stepbrother. Oh, we're never really told his age, so it's anybody's guess, and he is a cowboy on his family ranch. Here is the plot line. Chloe has been lusting after her stepbrother since basically when she met him at the age of 12. It was love at first sight, and Tanner has been attracted to her since she was 18. So for about the last 7 years, because now she's 25. Of course, with them being step-siblings, a love connection is off the table and taboo. But they live together, just the 2 of them, in his dad's old house. His dad passed away, and her mom moved after he passed away. And so it's just been the 2 of them, which I'm like, everybody thought that was a great idea?
I mean, here's the thing. If you're siblings, yeah, why not? Clearly, there's something else going on here.
Oh, yeah. So just to really open it up here, on the very first page of the story, which I sent to you, Megan, because I was thrown for a loop, that this was how she opened up the story.
And I believe all I wrote back to you was, ew.
Chloe's stepsister-in-law asks her what she wants for Christmas. And these are the thoughts that go through Chloe's head. She was not going to say, for Tanner to realize that I'm a woman and not a child, and for him to realize that I am his stepsister and not his biological sister, and it actually wouldn't be weird at all if the 2 of us were to maybe get together, even if only for some physical action. Also off the table was to lose my virginity, probably equally as inappropriate as a night of hot sex. So there you have it, Megan. Anyway, it's Christmas. And because they actively work the family ranch, they're the last ones to head up to a cabin vacation rental that the rest of the family has chosen to celebrate Christmas at. And wouldn't you know it, Megan, they get stuck in a snowstorm on the way there, and they can't head back home, and they can't go to the cabin, so they have to stay overnight in a small town, and there's only one room at the lodge, and there's only one bed in that room. As they hunker down for the storm, Chloe and Tanner, of course, get in a snowball fight and get all wet. And then they enjoy some burgers and fries and hot chocolate back at their hotel room before things get spicy. Chloe reveals her feelings to Tanner and tells him she wants to have a little night of what happens at the lodge stays at the lodge. She wants one. Are you shaking your head?
I'm speechless.
She wants one memorable night of sexcapades, and then they'll go back to normal like it never happened. Yeah. Tanner tells Chloe he's had the same feelings for her, and that she's his darkest fantasy, which, on the one hand, I get it. But then, also, there are people with a lot darker fantasies than banging their non-biologically related sibling. But it's
his darkest fantasy,
yes.
so, no.
So Chloe is a virgin, And they start with a good old-fashioned oral sex incident, and of course, she immediately orgasms. And then it's on to the official act of sex, and of course, Chloe is climaxing with that as well. And you know that's my favorite thing, when these young virginal women are just, ooh, magically orgasming at the drop of a hat with zero sexual experience.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The next day, the roads are cleared, and the two of them head off to meet up with the rest of the fan family. They try to pretend like nothing has happened, but later that night, Tanner goes to her room and they bang again. And Tanner realizes, you know what? This is more than just sex and fantasies for me. I actually really love Chloe romantically, and have for a long time. She inspires me at the ranch, and I want to be in a real relationship with her. So he tells Chloe this the next day, and she low-key loses her shit. She worries that this could destroy their family because it is considered taboo. And if things don't work out, where would she end up in her life? Because she couldn't live and work at the ranch anymore. And she's really passionate about what she does there, so things get a little tough as they both try to work through their feelings. I will say, Meghan, they are very good at communicating with each other about their feelings at this point in life. Not prior to this story, but during the course of this story, they communicate very well. But even with this communication, there's some feelings that lead to intense emotions and uncertainty. Tanner talks with his two brothers, Chloe talks with her mom, and you can bet everybody's got some opinions about what's going on.
You think? I feel like that's all I've said over and over again. I just keep going, mm-hmm. You think? Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, most of the family is pretty supportive of their relationship. I did appreciate some of the things that Chloe's mom says to her, just in regards to relationships in general, not necessarily this specific scenario. Loving somebody does mean opening yourself up. Loving someone means having to try, having to put in an effort. I thought that was wise words of wisdom from Mom. Anyway, the two of them decide to give it a go, and spoiler alert, Tanner proposes to Chloe the very next day on Christmas Day. Because why wouldn't you? If the relationship's new and fresh, why not just go full bore?
Here's the thing. Of all the books where people propose way too soon, I mean, at least they've known each other a long time.
I mean,
there's that.
We're wrong there.
Just saying, I mean, they've lived together for so long. He knows that she leaves her dirty laundry out. She knows he drinks directly from the milk carton. They know all the bad habits.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there's the positive.
Ice level, I'm giving this one a jalapeno. Things I tried to enjoy about the book. I guess I appreciated the spice level. I normally like my romance novels spicier with the jalapeno to habanero range, but I also am not sure how to feel about it when they're step siblings. I get that they're not blood related, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it.
I know how I feel about it, which is bleh, but...
Right.
You know.
Right. I did appreciate that this was a super fast read with good pacing. And I find Maisie Yates to be a good dialogue writer. I do also appreciate the solid communication between Chloe and Tanner. And hooray, there was condom use.
Yeah, there you go.
Challenges. Obviously, I'm challenged by the step-sibling thing. It's technically still considered to be sibling incest and is also considered taboo in our culture, even with no, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this word correctly, consanguinity. Basically, they're not blood related, but it's still off the table, essentially, in our culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I, as mentioned, am always challenged by the virginal young woman miraculously achieving peak orgasms right off the bat, and every single time. I just don't think it's realistic, especially for someone with little to no, and in her case, it was no sexual experience, no masturbating, how does she even know what to recognize in her own body and enjoy?
You got me, girl.
And my final thoughts... I think I would honestly read more of Maisie Yates' shorter romance novels, as long as they didn't involve step-siblings.
So you enjoyed the writing style?
I did. I did.
That's good.
And I'm all here for a good cowboy romp. I'm enjoying my cowboy Christmas summer right now. Food, Fritos, because nothing says hot sex and romance like Fritos.
Hey, bring that corn chip breath over here.
Cheeseburgers, French fries, beer, hot chocolate, and s'mores. Any food in yours?
Nice.
We didn't talk about food in yours.
No, not really. The one scene where they go to dinner, instead of kind of describing the dinner, it's just they went to dinner. As the night went on, they left dinner. So I get told that they had dinner, but I don't get shown what we had for dinner. So yeah, there really wasn't a lot of that. They did have a fantasy makeout session in a bakery, but there wasn't any food there. So yeah, I don't know. It was the beers.
Rewind.
Yeah.
In the kitchen of the bakery? The sales area of the bakery? Mm-hmm.
The kitchen part.
Oh, okay. Everywhere in the bakery?
The kitchen part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's hygienic.
Well, I mean, who am I to judge? So yeah, no food, but there were the beers. That is the extent of it in my book.
I'm going to guess that your boobies hit pretty early if they were banging on page 14 already?
Yeah, they hit pretty early, and this is something that I need some advice from you or some, because we've got 3 options for our booby prize.
Oh, boy.
And I want to know what you think counts.
Okay.
Much like when I had my underwater romance and the Undine didn't know how to say breasts, so he called them her mounds or whatever he called them.
Yes.
Same thing where I've got some different words, and you will tell me which one of these does or does not count. Cleavage, nipples, breasts. Do any of those yes count or not count?
I would say all 3 of those are eligible, so whichever one hit first.
Cleavage on page 14 it is.
Okay, look at you.
Mm-hmm. And those were all fairly early. So cleavage was 14, nipples were 17, breasts were 19. So I was coming in pretty hot with any of those, I felt.
Sorry, I'm taking notes. Okay.
Note the boobies.
Note to the boobies. Okay. Technically, Megan, my breast reference hit on page 413 because this is 2 books in 1 book.
Oh, yeah, but we gotta rewind it. So where would it actually fall if it was a standalone book?
If it was a standalone book, it would be page 44. So you definitely beat me.
Yep.
He chuckled, lowering his head and brushing his lips against the soft, curved part of her breast. And I was trying to figure out, aren't all parts of a breast curved? Like what?
Well, I mean, it depends on how pointy your nipples are feeling at that point. If you're all diamonded out, those aren't necessarily soft and curved at that
I suppose.
particular.
Yeah, I was just trying to envision it. I'm like, which part of the curve? Does she have ski slope boobs? I don't know. Romantic reminder.
Yeah, so that is actually what I was going to say earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I really couldn't think of one for this book. Probably not because there isn't one, but more because I feel like it's a lot of generics where it's compliment your partner's strengths or be there for your partner.
Yeah.
Tell them they look nice. It's a lot of the same stuff. There's nothing in this one that made me look at it and go, oh man, that is one that we really need to talk about. So yeah, I don't really have a romantic reminder for this one.
Okay.
I apologize. I was concentrating so much on that chart that I got very distracted from the other things that I should have been paying attention to.
Oh boy. So the romantic reminder I got from my book is actually a direct quote from the book. It just presented itself, which I'm pretty sure this is the first time that's ever happened on the podcast, where the book just gave it to me, if you will.
Bring it.
Love is active. Tanner is saying to Chloe, this isn't a passive thing. Love is active. I love you, you love me, and we want it. And we want it, and we'll work at it. I see that with you and your horses, with your business. You've seen that with me on the ranch. It's who we are. And it ties into what her mother was saying to her earlier. You have to put in effort. And I truly believe love needs to be nurtured and requires maintenance. You can't just set it and forget it. You have to put into it. Loving someone is active, and you have to be actively involved in your relationship.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. That kind of goes along with that idea of choosing to love someone. There are going to be days where it is hard to love the person you have promised to love because they are crabby and you are tired and it is 90 degrees and all the windows in your house are shut. You don't have an air conditioner and you can't run your fan because you're on a podcast. And you don't feel like being very loving. It's a choice. It is active. I agree.
Now that Christmas in July is over, we are moving on to romance con authors that we are going to be checking out in September. But in the meantime, we're going to start reading some books by these lovely writers.
Yes, Romance Con in Milwaukee in the first weekend of September. Check it out if you are in the area. I know tickets are already running pretty slim.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, definitely check that out. We are not only going to be there, but we are planning to do a brunch that weekend as well. So if there are other bookish biddies that would like to join us and hang out, we can even do like a book swap or book exchange or something fun like that. Yeah, just keep that in mind. Put that on your calendar. First weekend in September in Milwaukee.
Yes. Megan, what do you have up first for your book of Romance Con?
My first Romance Con book is by Ashley Herring Blake. It's called Delilah Green Doesn't Care. This is one of the very first books I actually picked up when you and I talked about doing this podcast. I'm really excited to finally get around to it because it has been sitting in the queue now for months and months and months. So finally getting to pull this one out. My synopsis. Delilah Green swore that she would never go back to Bright Falls. Nothing is there for her but memories of a lonely childhood in which she was a little more than a burden to her cold and distant stepfamily. Her life is in New York, with her photography career finally gaining steam and her bed never empty. Sure, there's a different woman every night, but that's just fine with her. When Delilah's estranged stepsister, Astrid, pressures her into photographing her wedding with a guilt trip and a 5-figure check, Delilah finds herself back in the godforsaken town she used to call home. She plans to breeze in and out, but then she sees Claire Sutherland, one of Astrid's stuck-up besties, and decides that maybe there's some fun and a little retribution to be had in Bright Falls after all. I'll leave it there.
Oh.
There's a little bit more, but that's a long synopsis. Anyway, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah. I have seen that one mentioned in a variety of reading lists, and so I'm excited that we're covering this one.
Yeah, when I was looking this up, there were several like book clubs that have covered this one as well, that this was a book club book. I'm excited.
I have BK Borison's Mixed Signals. Layla Dupree has given up on love. She's waded through all the fish in the sea, each one more disappointing than the last. Apparently, owning the bakery at Inglewild's most romantic destination does not help one's love life, despite Layla's best efforts. All she wants is a partner who gives her butterflies, not someone who ghosts her at dinner and leaves her with the check. Good thing Caleb Alvarez has the perfect solution. After saving Layla from another date gone bad, he has a simple proposition. 1 month of no-strings dating. He'll do his best to renew her faith in men while she rates his romantic game. It's a win-win situation. All the benefits of dating without the added pressure of feelings and unmet expectations. But there's one ingredient they haven't considered. Chemistry between them is red hot, and the urge to take things to the next level is more tempting than Layla's mocha fudge brownies.
I could totally go for a mocha fudge brownie right now. That's pretty damn tempting.
I'd go for a brownie, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, that sounds good. We got some good books coming up. Thank you for joining us today for Romance on the Rocks. Please like, subscribe, and follow. And if you are a hopelessly romantic fellow bookish biddy like us, think about giving us a review on Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you catch your podcasts. Your support really means the world to us. And until next time, stay safe and know that you are loved.